Hello there, this is Cookies. I've got turn 36. So the entrance to our fort gets breached. Apernia gets stormed. Takes a few casualties, but doesn't need much to kill light infantry. And we get our fire gems from Calum at about a 2-to-1 ratio. I didn't want to spend a bunch of time trying to deploy different players to get a better deal. I think I could have. Um, I really only needed enough to, I think, get one turn in. So, and this turn, because I didn't realize I get to keep the gem income from this, I got some more death gems, some more nature gems. So I organized a trade with Hinnom, who I've been pretty friendly with all game. They're kind of like natural allies to me because they're at the diagonal. So organized a trade with Hinnom. So I'm going to send him 4 death gems and my Skull Mentor for I think 4 or 6 nature gems. A similar like 2-to-1 ratio. We're also sending this message. My only regret is not outliving the barbarians of Dryfields. May they forever rebel against foreign occupation. Because I think they've rebelled at least twice. So we've gone ahead and recalled our scouts. We're going to use our scouts in this fight. I'm not a big fan of dying with stuff out on the board. I kind of want to. If you're going to kill me, you're going to have to kill all my stuff, is my general feeling. So we're going to go ahead and get some more snakes. We're going to go ahead and get some fire ants. If for some reason we only get pinged this turn, we'll use the nature gems from Hinnom in our current store. And I believe we'll get animals and more snakes, is the plan. And I don't know what I'll do with the 4 death gems. Maybe just like gift them out to people. I don't know. I know people aren't a big fan of death baskets, but I don't think four death gems is going to break the market. Let's see. So, and this is my current turn, so we've now caught up. So maybe now might be a good chance to do some reflections. I don't know. So I guess yeah, some reflections. The on the build, and I think I said this in an earlier message to Omniscience. I'm not sure if I get the inspirational. I think there's a lot of ways to put the morale on the slave troopers. Maybe you don't really need it. Although it is really nice having it in the early game, and it is useful throughout the game, and it can break you into fire. So it's nice. But maybe you don't need it. And without it, I think you get 2 more scales. So maybe you can do like another order and production scale. And that would be pretty nice. Because that means more elite warriors in the early game, stuff like that. What other stuff? It's a little hard because it's like we had this difficult geography, but that certainly wasn't everything. I definitely made mistakes. There were certain things I didn't know about my pretender, like I didn't know mobiles couldn't break siege. I also didn't read the description text to know that he couldn't teleport. So that crimped the build, but he was also like this pile of hit points was kind of instrumental in my living this long to begin with. So that's interesting. Maybe I think I could have done something similar with a Titan, but a Titan is also more expensive. And so I'd almost certainly have to give up the fire without getting additional scales if I chose a different chassis. Maybe I could have done a fountain, and the fountain could teleport potentially. That could have been an option. And we can go ahead and maybe check that out. Some other things. I think the troops underperformed relative to my expectations. I think I was expecting them to perform a little bit better against Sacres than what they did. And maybe that's just my inexperience with the game. So maybe I really did need perfect order and production to have enough troops to be able to kill things like Boar Warriors at like a, you know, where they have like a 4-to-1 KD. So that's something. Another thing was we didn't find scouts until the very end of expansion up here. That held us back. And in 2020 hindsight, I do wonder if it would have been potentially if we had gone down here first, like waited one more turn, come down here, and maybe we could have split this with TNN and then gone over here and gotten some of this. And maybe that would have given us a better income base. I think we also let Calum Vulture too early. I think I should have let Yomi put the fort under siege before offering Calum the opportunity to vulture. Because losing this income definitely hurt my ability to be able to repel these two. At least as early as it happened. I think in the end, though, it was alright because it limited... There was like a 5-turn window where I probably should not have let Calum vulture. Like a 1 to 5 turn window. And that was in retrospect, because I expected Yomi to go on this fort, not on my cap. And if I had waited, then I would have had potentially more mages and more troops, and maybe I could have repelled better. But because Calum had these 2 provinces, it made it impossible for Yomi and Marverni to come to any sort of split agreement. Because, 20 to 50 income here, 30 income, 12 income, 22 income, 9 income, what is it, 7 income, whatever the heck this was, probably not much. Like, none of these incomes were worth splitting in a diplomatic agreement. The only 2 provinces worth anything was the cap, which they both wanted, and this province, which they both wanted. So that contributed to the 1v1v1 situation, or 1v1v1 situation, where I was able to use the invading armies against each other to help my defense. And it was only when Yomi withdrew that things got especially dangerous for me. Because then Marverni was able to run around unimpeded because Yomi launched an invasion of TNN. So they sent their troops from here down into these farmlands to raid, and then they also raided from up here. So in terms of some of the benefits from the build, I really like some of the benefits from the build. The recuperation was nice, especially on the Pretender. I'm not sure if we had that mod on, though. Rebirth. Yeah, we didn't have the capital recuperation mod. So recuperation was nice. I'm not sure if it was... Because we didn't make it to the mid-game and late game, it didn't do anything for us in this particular game. But in a game where we don't get invaded by 2 of our neighbors, it would do stuff. So there's that. We did use the Arcane Finesse. We had the Mind Tongue Communion. And we're going to have the Capital Defense with our god, where potentially he might soul slice some stuff. We never got to go through construction and do the Crystal Gear, which the Earth Astral Path gives. The Reinvigoration we did get to use on the Mind Tongue Communion, even though we burned it out. It still went fairly long. So yeah, it was a Mage Bless, but it only works really for the Shamans, because the Reborn and the Ceromancers aren't sacred. And they're kind of the workhorse of the nation. So, I definitely see why the meta is just go full production order, full scales, and then do what you can with the mages. And just try to swarm with tons of lizards. I can definitely see why that's a thing. Do I regret trying a quirky mage build? No. I think this was a lot of fun. We had the extra inspirational in the early game. Our Lizard King gave them excellent morale. So when we fought Yomi out here, our lizards took an absolute pounding from flaming arrows, and they lasted a long time under that because they charged forward, they killed some stuff, then they charged all the way back, killed those Oni Shugo, and then they charged forward again, all under flaming arrows. So that kind of morale is really nice on, especially on slave troopers who by default have, I think, 8 or 9 morale. Yeah, 8 morale, 9 morale. So that was really nice. We never really got to thug these guys, or even do like light thugging with them. Or maybe you give them like a GSS and do like a weird attack rear. Never really got to do that. But yeah, I feel like so we've definitely been playing from our back most of this game. I think we did a pretty good defense. We had the mistake at the end, but I think overall I'm like reasonably proud with how I played through this all this aggression. It's I think it started around somewhere around turns 13 to 15, and it's turn 36 now. A war started that early, if it's prosecuted efficiently, should probably end like turn 20 to 28. And here we are around turn 36. This is probably the point where both participants had probably kind of wished they'd finished their second war, or were wrapping up their second war. And Marverni's still here involved in his first war. So we've probably impacted the game state some. Negatively for Yomi and Marverni, but probably positively for Calum. Potentially TNN, depending on what they did with it. From what I've heard, they're struggling, though. They had some bad fighting with Hinam. And then it definitely helped Hinam, because he hasn't had to really worry about Yomi and Marverni this whole time. And I think earlier in the game, he was worried that if they overran me quickly, they could, do a 2v1 against him. So I think that was a concern for him, but he hasn't had to worry about that yet. And maybe it's helped Agartha a little. I know Agartha got rushed by Hinam, but maybe Marverni, if he had killed me quickly, might have been incentivized to go ahead and finish off Agartha. I don't know. So I definitely feel like we've impacted the game state a little bit, especially for turn 36. I think it was a reasonable defense. We caused serious attrition to our enemies on, I think, 3 or 4 occasions. And I don't feel we provided an easy target. So I think maybe in the future, if somebody considers invading me, maybe they'll have a double think, because I fought to the very, very bitter end. I don't know. Maybe they'll reconsider. I definitely don't want to be in the category of players who kind of go like AFK when they realize they've lost, because I think that just encourages people to attack you in the future if you ever play with them again. And I had a lot of fun with this game. I know it's a loss, but I really enjoyed this game. A capital defense is the kind of experience I'm typically looking forward to, or I'm looking for when I sub into a game. I had the one with and I think I ended that one prematurely because I just wanted to do a big battle at the time. But ideally, I think I would have played through that one more. I think it would have been a lot of fun. And capital defenses are fun because typically you have a little bit higher magic. You have something, typically some 5 or 7. You have some amount of magic, but you don't have a lot of micro and management to do because you just have the one army in your cap. So in that aspect, it's a lot of fun because your turns are really short. They're also high stakes. And then if you lose, then you just get to go find a new game. So I've definitely had a lot of fun playing this cap defense. Would I play Statis again? I think so. I feel like I didn't get the full Statis experience. So, and I think Statis can be a lot of fun. The plan with this Mage Bless was I think you saw it was the Thumb and Enchantment Rush. And you can continue that even into the mid game and early late game, I think. So for instance, down here in Enchantment 6, you can very easily cast Rigor Mortis. With a Shaman Communion, you can do Relief. I had all the Reinvig on the Bless. That would have helped too. Let's see. I guess you can do some opposition spam, but then down here in 7, you can do Life After Death. And if you take a detour at some point and get a little bit of Alteration, I think. So in Alteration, you have Soul Vortex at 6. So if you come down here, you get Life After Death. You throw that up with a Saromancer. You throw up Soul Vortex. And you throw up Rigor Mortis. All your mages eventually become, like all your Reborns and Saromancers that probably aren't Twice-Born, they become soulless mages. And suddenly they operate perfectly fine under Rigor Mortis within the same battle, and they can keep pumping out skeletons. And you have relief up for your shamans, and as part of my Mage Bless, you had +2 reinvigoration. So you have a very nasty, like, Rigor Mortis skeleton trap that you can do. And then on the Thom side, this whole time you could potentially be doing Wither Bones if the enemy brought undead. But also, I think in here, there's... is it in here? Maybe you don't need to go as far to... Oh, you can do... sorry, it's the nature stuff. You can do a bunch of charm spam as part of your communion. And that's only Thom 7. And potentially Beast Mastery if you need to go down to it. So if I'd still been somehow fighting him like a Marverni at this point. But I think you really, generally, you'll only need to go down to like Thom 7. So while they're sleeping from Rigor Mortis, you can be throwing out a lot of charm spam on advancing cast. And all your death mages have become mindless and undead, so they're perfectly happy to work under Rigor Mortis, and they can keep throwing out skeletons. And you can get a really interesting kind of like high impact play on the enemy where you steal some stuff, you kill a lot of stuff. It's a fatigue trap that's not affecting you. And I mean, if your communion somehow got high enough, you could maybe even throw in like Soul Drain, which I think is in Thom. But you could potentially also do like you probably don't want to do Solar Brilliance, but yeah, just like, I don't know. I thought that was like a pretty cool, like kind of late mid game plan where you roll out with Enchant 7, Thom 7, and maybe Alt 6, like a late mid game plan, early late game, and you can do this really nasty fatigue trap with a pretty cool communion, and then communion has 3 reinvig on it because you have relief and the +2 reinvig. So the communion can kind of still keep operating under rigor, and you've turned your death mages into free upkeep mages, and you get a ton of skeletons. So that was kind of the vision I was starting to see in my head for kind of like the late mid game. And going down to, sorry, there's like someone driving the car outside. But yeah, I mean, if you're already going down here for Alt 6, there's definitely some other stuff that you can add in there. Like you can throw up darkness because Soul Slay, Charm, and I don't think Charm's affected by precision, but Soul Slay isn't. So the Communion can work in the dark. The skeletons do fine in the dark. Soulless don't always see in the dark. I think normally they don't. But you can throw up darkness to lower the stats across the board. Maybe the fighting takes longer now. Your skeleton, your long dead do better. So you can do that at the same research level that you get Soul Vortex. You can do Skeletal Legion, so you're more resistant to archery. And I mean, you can throw up Foul Vapors while you're doing this. Because you have pretty, 1 in 4 Ceromancers can do Foul Vapors. You have Invulnerability, you have Wooden Warriors. So there's some really cool stuff you can do. You can do a bunch of Swarm Spam for raiding and for anti-assassin. Your Shamans are great for both roles. So that was kind of the plan. You can even point buff some stuff with Moss Body, or yeah, the water random. After they do Foul Vapors, maybe they can do like Moss Body on some stuff. But yeah, there's a lot you can do. And not necessarily at extreme research levels. We've been patrolling most of our mages most of this game, and we've still gotten Thom 5 and Chant 5. So it's entirely doable if you're not under this kind of pressure to get to Alt 6 and Chant 7, Thom 7 by, I don't know, turn 45, turn 50, somewhere in there, maybe even turn 40. If you're doing really well, maybe like, I don't know, turn 30, 35. So it's definitely possible. You're able to bring a lot of your own banishment spam, which is kind of cool. So yeah, definitely learned some stuff this game, especially about immobiles. Definitely had some cool plans I never really got to pursue, but instead I got some really fun battles. I had some fun fights with Yomi. I had some fun fights with Marverni. I got to chat a lot. I chatted a lot with the Yomi player. He's really friendly. His name's Stone Troll. I think he was in one of the tournament finals a couple of years ago. I think he said the original player who should have gone couldn't play, and so he ended up subbing in. But he's been around for a long time. He's really friendly. I enjoyed chatting with him. I really liked some of the stuff he did, like the research rush, where he surprised me with 100 flaming arrows Bakemono archers. The Tengu was a cool addition. He had that hammer on the Dione to try and kill my god with it. So he definitely has plans and he can put them into action, and it was fairly unpredictable, at least for me. So I really liked playing him. I didn't chat as much with the Marverni player, but he's from the Sergeant Flintlock, was in, I think, Lucid's new casting series. He's pretty fun to play with, too. He's surprised me a couple of times in this game, so credit to him there. And he's taken some unwanted attrition, but it might have been avoidable if he'd been willing to spend the gems and the mage turns to, put out stuff like Poison Ward, or to Magic Duel my god, take that part of my Bless offline. There's probably some additional things he could have done, but he definitely used his better production skills to put more troops on the board and to keep me pinned in. So, yeah, it's been really fun playing with both of them. I think they both did really well. And I'm looking forward to finishing out my Arathea game. And I'm still in the Charlama game that I'm in. It's the first game I ever joined, and it's still going, even though all these other series have ended. And I'm not sure if I'll join another game before Dom 6 comes out. I'm kind of inclined not to, because there's some stuff I want to get done for work. So there's a couple of certifications I want to run out and get that will probably require some out like personal time study effort. So I might slow down some of the, at least the gameplay in the future. Or maybe it'll just transition to a little bit more single player, and then Dom 6 should come out. And hopefully I have those certs by then, and I'll be refreshed, ready to go, and we'll dive into Dom 6. Because that should be a lot of fun. So hopefully that explains everything, and I'll see you in turn 37, and we'll see if Marverni kills me there. I thought about sending a message, but it seemed a little bit premature, especially if Marverni just pings it, or if something weird happens to like send like a GG message to everyone and then like not die. Kind of like the old man crossing the street. It was perfectly timed because he died that turn. So, but yeah, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.